Hello and welcome to another CSD Fantasy YouTube video. Today we'll be looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers 2017 score projection. All projections are in standard scoring. Now, let's dig in. In case you have not watched any of my previous videos, I start off by looking at the team's opportunity pool. The opportunity pool derives from the 2017 opponents' play trends from the last 2 years and the Steelers' own trends from the last 3 years. These two stats combine and will later on be divided up amongst the players. The Steelers play against the AFC North, NFC North, AFC South, New England, and Kansas this year, and their opponent's opportunity pool is passes 564 and runs 405. Their own trends are passes 595 and runs 406, leaving us with a 2017 opportunity pool of 580 passes and 406 runs. Not too bad of a pool. For the Steelers' market share, we have a huge domination for two players. The number one receiver sees 30% of all targets, while the number one back sees 70% of all carries. That creates an imbalance for some players, but makes my job easier when it comes to the two stars. Just take a look at Brown's target percentages from the last 3 years. As long as it stays above 25%, we have a target beast on our hands. So with a bigger sample size, the projections become more accurate. In Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown's case, they are two of the easiest players to project in the entire league. When it comes to Ben Roethlisberger, however, we have one of the most difficult players to predict due to his health. But as always, I assume 16 games of full health for all projections. From the opportunity pool and the market share, we see 580 dropbacks, 21 runs, and sacked 27 times, which is an amazing number. His passing trends heavily favors the right side, so any receiver that lines up there will see more targets than their counterparts. The short right is his most accurate zone, while the deep left is his least. These numbers will play a big part in how I arrive at the final projections for the pass catchers and the receiving running backs. All in all, my projections for Roethlisberger is 132 points from touchdowns, 184 from his passing, and lose 4 points from his rushing. That gives him a total of 286.6 fantasy points over the season. Bell doesn't play 16 games a season, but if he did, he'd probably have the best 16 games in the world. Bell sees almost no change in his yards per carry, no matter what down he plays. He just keeps on producing, as you can see. The same can be said for how he produces in different times of the game. With how well he runs early on, he just punishes teams later on in the game. This can be something to remember later on in the season when we have more knowledge how defenses look. From the opportunity pool and market share, we get 285 carries, 88 targets, and 60 receptions. Scoring 130.5 fantasy points from his rushing, 63.4, a little lower than I thought, from receiving, and 60 points from touchdowns, again lower than I would have thought. 253.9 total fantasy points over the season. Looking at the two main receivers and the number one tight end, we have first Antonio Brown with 173 targets and 115 receptions. From those targets and receptions, he will gain 1,507.1 yards and score 12 touchdowns. This will land him a total of 222 fantasy points and have the highest score projection of all wide receivers so far. Julio Jones is closest one behind him with 216. Martavis Bryant is back for the season and can hopefully stay on the field. The former Anderson TL Hanna Yellow Jacket, actually the only high school team I've ever seen, has the opportunity to be the number 2 receivers for me. He will have 80 targets with 44 receptions and gain over 600 yards and score 48 points from touchdowns. The touchdowns help him propel him to 116.4 fantasy points and outscore players like Sanu, Rashard Matthews, Funches, and more. With Ladarius Green out of the picture, Jesse James rides into the number 1 tight end spot. From the market share, we'll see 74 targets and he'll catch 42 of those. His yards from that workload is extremely underwhelming, and only 4 touchdowns means that it will be difficult to pinpoint what games to start him in. With 62.4 total fantasy points, he's still above Gresham and level with Cook. Hooper is the closest guy ahead of him. To round out this video, let's do as we always do and look at the projections in the light of last year. Ben would have finished 7th if he's still healthy. He has the chance to be a lot better this year, but his health concerns me. Bell is Bell. When he plays, he's top 2. Health concerns here too. I will go David Johnson before Bell. After that, it's hard not to pick him. Brown, I will not be surprised if he becomes my highest ranked player when it takes all the numbers into account and the player's ADPs. Bryant is a great option in the middle rounds. His overall ADP intrigues me. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a lot. Head over to csdfantasy.com for more charts and numbers. And as always, the spreadsheets are dark and full of terror.